People think you wake up one day and decide to ruin your life. Like there's a moment you look in the mirror and say, "Yep, today's the day I lose everything." But that's not how it happens. It's slower than that. Quieter. Like a leak in the ceiling you don't notice until the whole roof caves in. My name's Amber Lynn. Amber Lynn lost everything to drugs, her family, her baby, and herself, but slowly, she found the strength to get clean and start over. Her life is a story of pain, healing, and finding hope again. I grew up in a dusty, forgettable town in central Indiana. You know the type: church on Sundays, cornfields, and gossip so thick it chokes you. Our house was at the end of a dead-end road. Real poetic, huh? I was an only child, and I never felt like I belonged. My mama used to say, "You've always been too wild for this town." But not in a sweet way. More like I was a problem waiting to happen. She worked nights at the nursing home, always smelling like bleach and old people. My dad? He worked when he felt like it, spent more time drinking than talking. Most nights he sat in his recliner staring at the TV, chewing on his cheek, beer balanced on his belly. I used to tiptoe around the house like it was made of landmines. My parents didn't hit me, but there was a kind of violence in the air, yelling, slamming doors, icy silences that lasted days. I'd lie in bed and listen to my mom sob in the bathroom, or hear my dad mutter, "Should have left years ago," like I wasn't right down the hall. By high school, I was desperate for attention. For someone, anyone, to see me. And that's when Jared came into the picture. He wasn't a student. Just one of those guys who lingered too long after graduation. He had shaggy hair, this dirty denim jacket, and a motorcycle that coughed like it was dying. Everyone said he was bad news, but God, did he make me feel alive. He'd pull up behind the gym during lunch, blast Nirvana from his cracked speakers, and toss me his half-empty pack of Marlboros like we were starring in some gritty indie movie. I started skipping class just to sit in his car, letting the nicotine burn my throat while he told me stories about bar fights, jail, and trips to nowhere. "You're different," he said one day, brushing hair behind my ear with hands that had definitely hit things. "You don't belong in that school. You belong with me." And, just like that, I belonged. Our first night together was in the back seat of his car. It was stupid cold. My legs stuck to the fake leather. We had no condoms. I didn't care. I thought I was in love. I thought this was love. But afterward, he handed me a little blue pill, said, "This'll help you chill." I should have asked what it was. I didn't. I just swallowed it like it was candy. I floated. For the first time in forever, I felt light. The pain, the loneliness, the heaviness, it all just melted. It was like someone turned the volume down on my life. The high was quiet, soft, like warm water around my body. I never wanted to come back. From that night on, I chased it. At first it was just with Jared, weekends, then weekdays, then mornings before school. I stopped caring about homework, friends, even eating. My grades slipped, teachers tried to talk to me, but I just smiled through glassy eyes. I thought I was in control. Then my mom found the pill bottle hidden in my sock drawer. She held it up with shaking hands and screamed, "Amber Lynn, what is this? Are you on drugs?" I laughed. That was the last time she ever looked at me like I was her little girl. My dad lost it. He called me a whore, said I was no better than the addicts down by the train tracks. He smashed my phone against the wall, told me I was done living under his roof. They kicked me out 2 days later. No discussion. No, let's get you help. Just a trash bag full of my stuff and a ride to the gas station near Jared's place. I remember standing there, the sky gray as wet cement, watching their taillights disappear down the road. I was 16. Jared let me crash on his couch. His place reeked of smoke, cat piss, and despair. I shared a room with his dealer for a week. Then his dealer got arrested. Then his cousin moved in. Every day, I woke up more numb, more hollow. But I kept using. Pills turned into powders. Powders turned into smoke. I kept saying, "I'm fine. I've got this." I didn't. One night, about 2 months later, I felt this weird cramping in my gut. I got dizzy, threw up in the sink. Jared said it was withdrawal. But I knew. Deep down, I knew. I didn't say anything yet. Not out loud. But inside me, a tiny seed of terror had started to grow. Something was happening, something I couldn't numb my way out of. And that's when my whole life turned into something even darker than I thought possible. You ever hold your breath, hoping something inside you isn't real? That's what I did, every single day for a week. I told myself it was just a bug. Food poisoning. Bad dope. I mean, hell, everything in Jared's apartment was rotting, from the mold in the bathroom to the people on the couch. But my body was whispering the truth louder than any lie I could tell myself. I was 17. No diploma. No home. No plan. And now, maybe, pregnant. The morning I bought the test, I used the last 20 I had. I stood in that Dollar General bathroom, watching the plastic window bloom 2 pink lines like a death sentence. My knees buckled. I sat on the dirty floor for what felt like an hour, clutching the test like it might change its mind. I didn't cry. Not yet. That would come later. I walked back to the apartment in a fog. Jared was half passed out on the couch, a lit cigarette dangling between his fingers. Some old horror movie blared on the TV, the screen flickering in that broken way that made you feel like you were being watched. "Hey," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't look at me. "You got any smokes?" "I'm pregnant." That got his attention. He sat up like he'd been electrocuted. "What the hell are you talking about?" I showed him the test, my hand shaking so hard I nearly dropped it. He stared at it like it was some foreign object, like I was handing him a grenade. "That's not mine," he said. "What?" "That's not my kid. You've been around. I don't know who you've been with." I felt something split open inside me. "Jared, are you serious?" "I haven't been with anyone else." "It's yours." "You know it is." He stood up, fast and twitchy, pacing like a trapped animal. "I can't do this, Amber. I can't be a dad. I've got enough shit going on. I didn't plan this either." "Well, it's not my problem." He left. Slammed the door so hard, the whole wall shuddered. I stood there in the silence, feeling something crawl across my skin. Shame, maybe. Or fear. Or both. I threw up in the kitchen sink and sat on the floor, hugging my knees to my chest. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't go to my parents. I hadn't spoken to them since the day they threw me out. And even if I did, I knew they wouldn't take me back. I was living with 4 guys, all high half the time and dangerous the other half. There were nights I'd lock myself in the bathroom because one of them got too handsy, too loud, too something. I slept with a knife under the couch cushion. That was my home. And now, there was something growing inside me. A baby. A life. Some part of me wanted to believe I could fix everything. That I'd stop using, get clean, become the kind of mom I never had. I imagined cradling a soft little face, whispering promises like, "I'll never leave you. I'll never let you cry alone. I'll love you forever." But that wasn't the world I lived in. I was still using. The pills helped me sleep. The powder helped me eat. The smoke helped me forget I was carrying a child I couldn't care for. And I started bleeding, little streaks at first, then more. I curled up in the bathtub, water pink around me, whispering to my belly, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I went to the clinic alone. No one held my hand. The nurse didn't even look me in the eye when she said, "You're still pregnant, but you need to stop using. You're harming the baby." Harming. Like I was a weapon. A bomb ticking away. I promised myself I'd stop. I lasted 3 days. Then I found a bottle of something in Jared's drawer and swallowed half of it without even reading the label. I don't remember much after that. But I woke up on the floor of the hallway, head pounding, body shaking. Jared was gone again. The others stepped over me like I was furniture. One of them laughed, "She's always doing this." I was 4 months along. My belly started to show. Jared wouldn't touch me. Wouldn't even look at me. I started wearing his hoodies to hide my stomach, like maybe if I didn't see it, it wasn't real. The baby kicked one night while I was high. It felt like a whisper, like a tiny, desperate plea. I curled up and sobbed so hard I thought my lungs would give out. I didn't want to feel that. That innocence inside me. That hope. I didn't deserve it. I was broken. Filthy. I'd already failed. By 6 months, I was living out of a friend's car, eating gas station sandwiches. Still using. Still hiding. My hair was falling out. My skin was gray. I barely recognized myself in the mirror. And when the contractions started, I didn't even have a bag packed. I walked into the ER with nothing but a stolen coat and a fake name. They took my daughter away 3 hours after she was born. CPS didn't even let me hold her for long. I watched them carry her out in a plastic bassinet, her tiny fists clenched like she already knew the world was cruel. I begged the nurse, just let me hold her a little longer. She looked at me with eyes full of pity. You should have thought of that before. I named her Hope, because I didn't have any left. And then I walked back into the snow, bleeding through my jeans, shaking from withdrawal and more alone than I had ever been in my life. After they took Hope, something inside me died. Not like a metaphor. Not like a poetic, I was never the same kind of way. No. It was sharper. Colder. It was like someone reached inside me and turned off the light switch, one I didn't even know I had. The last flicker of something good in me gone. I started using harder. Whatever I could find, I took. Pills, powders, stuff I couldn't pronounce. I mixed things that should never be mixed. I didn't care. I wanted to disappear. To vanish into smoke and sweat and shadows. And God help me, it worked. I was 18 when I first tried the needle. A guy named Troy showed me how. I'd met him at a squat house on the edge of town, near the train tracks where no one looked you in the eye. He had tattoos that crawled up his neck like vines and this voice so calm it scared me more than yelling ever could. You ever shoot up? He asked, tying a rubber tourniquet around my arm like it was a bracelet. No. You will. I didn't even flinch. I didn't ask what it was. I didn't ask if it was safe. I didn't care. My veins were already trembling like they knew what was coming. He slid the needle in, and that was it. The first rush hit like a truck. All the pain, all the guilt, all the memories, it was like they drowned under this warm, thick tide. My head rolled back. My body melted. For a moment, I couldn't even remember my own name. It felt right. Like this is what I was made for. I laughed. And then I cried. I never stopped after that. You lose things when you're in that world. Little things first. Your phone, your clothes, your ID. Then bigger things, friends, teeth, the ability to sleep without shivering. I woke up in strange places. Alleyways, gas station bathrooms, back seats of strangers' cars. I slept with people I didn't know just to score a hit. I told myself it wasn't me. That I was still Amber, just lost. But the truth? I was gone. Only my body was left, dragging itself from one fix to the next. People stopped saying my name. They started calling me that junkie girl or worse. I'd walk down the street and feel the stares. Mothers would pull their kids a little closer. Cops would slow their cruisers and follow me for blocks. One time, I walked into a corner store to buy a lighter and the cashier said, "Don't steal anything, okay?" before I even reached the counter. I hadn't spoken to my parents in over a year. Not a call. Not a letter. I imagined them sitting at the dinner table, pretending I was dead. Maybe that was easier for them. Sometimes I'd dream about Hope. Not as a baby, but older, maybe 5 or 6. Long brown hair, eyes like mine, voice like bells. In my dream, she'd look up at me and ask, "Why didn't you come for me, Mama?" And I'd wake up screaming. I started seeing things. Shadows that whispered. People who weren't there. I'd scratch at my skin until it bled, thinking bugs were crawling underneath. I got infections. Track marks turned black. My arms looked like something off a medical show, only worse, because it was real. I ended up in jail twice. First time was possession. Second time was shoplifting cold meds. I spent 3 days detoxing in a cement cell, vomiting into a toilet, screaming until my throat tore. No one cared. Not the guards. Not the nurses. Certainly not the judge, who looked down at me and said, "You're wasting your life, Miss Lynn." Wasting it? I thought. Honey, I already threw it away. They let me out with a warning and a packet of rehab centers I'd never call. I went straight back to Troy's place. By now, my body had given up. I hadn't had a period in a year. My teeth were loose. My skin was gray-green, hanging off my bones like wet paper. I weighed maybe 90 pounds, soaking wet. One day, I caught a glimpse of myself in a broken mirror at a squat. I didn't recognize what I saw. Sunken eyes, sores, hair clumped in greasy strings. I stared at that reflection for a long time. I touched the glass. My hand shook. "This isn't you," I whispered. But it was. That same night, Troy OD'd on the bathroom floor. I found him cold, blue, eyes still open. I screamed. I shook him. I tried to do CPR, slapping his chest like that could bring him back. Nothing. I ran into the street barefoot, sobbing and shaking, covered in his puke and my own snot, screaming for help. No one came. The next morning, I walked out of that house barefoot. I left his body behind like trash. I wandered for hours. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe a sign. Maybe punishment. I ended up collapsing in the middle of a church parking lot, too tired to cry, too empty to scream. A woman found me there. Middle-aged. Floral dress. Looked like someone's Sunday school teacher. She knelt beside me, brushed my hair out of my face, and said, "Honey, what happened to you?" I couldn't speak. She helped me sit up. I vomited on her shoes. She didn't even flinch. She said her name was Dolores, and she would change my life. But not yet. Because before I could change, I had to crash one more time. And this time, I wouldn't get up so easily. People think rock bottom is a place. A moment. Something clear and dramatic, sirens, ambulances, crying in the rain. But it's not. Rock bottom is when you stop caring whether you live or die. And I'd been living there for a while. After Troy died, I drifted. I couch-hopped, slept behind dumpsters, sometimes in motel rooms if a trick had cash. My body didn't feel like mine anymore. Just a thing I traded. A shell I dragged around. I remember one night in December, it was cold enough to freeze the inside of my lungs. I had on a hoodie 2 sizes too big, no socks, cracked Converse shoes. I was limping from an infected foot, barely able to walk. I hadn't eaten in 3 days. I broke into an old trailer out near the scrapyard. No heat. No running water. Just a musty old mattress and some torn-up curtains. It felt like a coffin. I curled up under an old tarp and tried to sleep, but the pain wouldn't let me. My teeth throbbed. My bones ached. My stomach growled like an angry animal. I thought, this is it. This is where I die. And the worst part? I didn't care. But something inside me wouldn't let go. This tiny, stubborn voice that still sounded like hope. Like my daughter. Like a child who believed in something better. That voice whispered, "Get up. Just one more time." I don't know how I made it out of that trailer. I don't remember walking. But somehow, I ended up back in front of the same church where Dolores found me the first time. It was closed. The doors locked. I sat on the cold steps and cried. The kind of crying that doesn't make a sound. Just leaking pain. That's when I overdosed. I had a small stash hidden in my bra. I don't even remember taking it. My body moved on autopilot. One hit, then another. I was chasing peace. The final kind. My vision blurred. My limbs went numb. The world slipped sideways. I fell back onto the concrete and stared up at the sky. It looked endless and far away. I remember thinking, maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe this is what dying feels like. Then, nothing. Black. Silence. When I woke up, I was strapped to a hospital bed. There was a tube in my throat and machines beeping all around me. My arms were tied down because I kept ripping out my IVs. I saw a nurse above me, blurry and angelic, her voice muffled like she was underwater. "You're lucky to be alive," she said. I wasn't so sure. They told me I had been dead for over 2 minutes. Someone from the church had found me and called 911. Dolores. Of course it was her. She never stopped looking for me, not even after the vomit and the overdoses and the silence. She was waiting for me to hit the one bottom I couldn't crawl out of. And I had. I was in the ICU for a week. Then detox. The hell of it. I shook. I screamed. I begged for something, anything, to make the pain stop. My skin crawled. My heart raced. My bones felt like they were burning from the inside out. There were moments I thought, let me die. Please. I meant it. But I didn't die. And Dolores was there. Every day. Sitting in the visitor chair, reading from the Psalms, humming old hymns, even when I cursed at her, even when I threw a cup of water at the wall just to hear something break. "I see you, Amber," she said one day, gently wiping my forehead with a cool cloth. "The real you. She's in there. She's just buried under a lot of pain." I broke down crying. Not because I believed her, but because for the first time in years, someone looked at me and didn't flinch. After detox, the social worker came. Young, sharp-suited, clipboard full of words I wasn't ready to hear. "You have a choice," she said, flipping through papers. "We can release you back to the street, or you can sign into a long-term recovery program. It's state-funded. Hard. But it works." I stared at the pen like it was a weapon. "Does it? Does it hurt?" I asked. She didn't lie. "Yes, but not as much as what you've already been through." So I signed. That was the day I gave up. Not in the bad way. Not like before. I gave up the fight against myself. I stopped trying to escape. I stopped chasing numbness. I let go. And that's when the real work began. Because survival wasn't enough anymore. Now I had to learn how to live. You don't walk out of hell and just start breathing clean air. Rehab isn't a movie. There's no soft piano music or sweeping montages of progress. It's brutal. It's raw. It's a mirror held up to your face every damn day, showing you exactly what you've become. And still, somehow it saved me. I was sent to a state-run recovery center in southern Indiana. A squat concrete building that looked more like a county jail than a place for healing. Peeling paint, flickering lights, shared bathrooms. The kind of place that smells like disinfectant, cigarette smoke, and old trauma. The first night, I cried so hard I threw up. Not because I was in pain, but because I didn't have anything left to numb the pain with. You think withdrawal is bad? Try living without the crutches you've used your whole life. Try waking up sober and realizing how much damage you've done. Not just to yourself, but to everyone who ever loved you. Every person who gave you a piece of themselves while you tore yourself apart. I walked into that place weighing 93 pounds, with teeth that felt like chalk and eyes that didn't blink right. My hair was falling out in clumps. My voice trembled even when I wasn't speaking. They assigned me a roommate, Tasha. Big girl with a louder laugh than you'd expect in a place like that. "You look like death," she said the first time we met. Then she grinned. "Good news? You're not dead." I hated her for that. Then I loved her. She was 6 months clean and didn't let me lie to myself. Not once. "You're not broken," she said one night, sitting cross-legged on her bunk, twirling her braids. "You're just buried. And you're gonna have to dig yourself out, babe. No one's coming with a shovel." Group therapy was hell. They made us talk about things we hadn't said out loud in years, things we thought we could bury with pills and powder. I told them about hope. About signing those papers with trembling hands. About how I didn't even get to change her first diaper. About watching the social worker carry her away while I sat on a plastic chair, trying not to scream. "I don't think I deserve to be a mother," I whispered. The group leader, a former addict named Michelle with a voice like gravel, leaned forward and said, "What you think doesn't change what you are. That girl still has a mother. You still matter." I didn't believe her. but I wanted to. Every week, we had a family session. Dolores was the only one who came for me. Every time. She brought me peanut butter crackers and crossword puzzles. She always wore the same faded pink cardigan, her Bible tucked under her arm like armor. Sometimes she'd just sit and listen while I raged or cried or said nothing at all. "You've always been worthy," she said one day. "Even when you didn't think so." That word, worthy, burned through me like fire. One night, I sat at the edge of my bed and asked myself something terrifying. What if I could be better? What if I could be more than what happened to me? I didn't sleep that night. But I didn't use either. 30 days in, I took my first deep breath. It didn't taste like shame. It tasted like, maybe, like a sliver of something soft. We did yoga. I hated it. I painted a little ceramic ashtray in art therapy. I made it pink and blue. For hope. For the baby I gave away but never let go of. I wrote her letters I never sent. "Dear Hope," one of them said, "I'm not dead. I'm trying to become someone you could be proud of. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to find my way back to you, even if it takes forever." I talked about my parents, too. About how my mom used to braid my hair when I was little, humming country songs under her breath. About how my dad once carried me home from a sleepover because I got scared in the middle of the night. I missed them. But I also hated them. That was hard to admit. Rehab made me face the truth. They weren't monsters. They were just broken people doing the best they could with their own trauma. But they failed me. And I failed them right back. Around day 45, something shifted. I started making my bed. Started brushing my hair. Started looking people in the eye when I spoke. Michelle noticed. "You're coming back," she said, tapping her pen on her clipboard. Slow, but I see her. The girl under all that mess. I smiled. Barely. But it was the first real one in years. Then one afternoon, Tasha handed me a folder. "What's this?" I asked. "Next steps," she said. "Job programs. Transitional housing. Life after this place." The idea of life after terrified me more than any withdrawal ever did. But I opened it, because maybe, just maybe, there was more waiting for me than a grave. Clean. That word used to sound impossible. Like skydiving or forgiveness. Something that happened to other people. Not girls like me. But there I was. 90 days sober. Still shaking some nights, still dreaming of needles like they were old lovers, but sober. The recovery center gave me a certificate. I tucked it into my folder behind a letter I'd written to Hope, but never mailed. I remember holding that piece of paper and thinking, is this what pride feels like? It felt small, but real. Tasha gave me a tight hug and said, "Don't screw it up, dummy." "I'll try not to," I said, half laughing, half terrified. My new home was a transitional housing center for women. 12 bunk beds, shared showers, a curfew like I was back in high school. But it was clean, warm, safe. Nobody locked the bathroom door for hours or stole my shoes. That was a step up. I got a job bussing tables at a diner off the interstate. Greasy, loud, the kind of place with cracked booths and regulars who drank 6 cups of coffee and left a quarter for tip. I loved it. I smelled like bacon grease and burnt toast, and my feet hurt every night, but I was working. My first paycheck was $187.43. I held it in both hands like it was gold. I opened a bank account, bought toothpaste that wasn't stolen. I started living. Some nights I still sat up and shook, holding my arms, whispering, don't go back, like a prayer. There's something about withdrawal that never leaves you. Even after you're clean, it lives in your bones, waiting for you to get weak. I started going to meetings. 12 steps. Squeaky metal chairs and stale donuts. Women with eyes like mine, bruised, but awake. We cried. We laughed. We passed tissues and coins and hope around in circles. That's where I told the truth out loud for the first time. My name is Amber. And I gave my daughter away because I thought she deserved a mother who wasn't dying. And someone said back, that's not the end of your story. God. I clung to those words like a lifeline. Then came the letter. It arrived in a plain envelope with no return address. I almost didn't open it. Inside was a single photo of Hope. She was maybe 2. Standing on a patch of grass, holding a stuffed bunny, looking straight into the camera with those wide, curious eyes. My eyes. There was a short note. She's doing well. Happy. Loved. I thought you should know. No name. No contact info. Just that. I pressed the photo to my chest and sobbed on the floor of the laundry room, muffling myself in a pile of towels so the other women wouldn't hear. She was okay. She was okay. But something cracked open in me. And from that crack came a flood of questions. Would she know me someday? Would she hate me? Would she understand? Would I ever be strong enough to tell her the truth? Dolores called me every Sunday. I don't know how she found the time or the energy, but that woman was a damn lighthouse in a storm. I told her about the photo. She cried right along with me. You're becoming the woman you were always meant to be, she said. And Hope, well, she's going to be so proud of you one day. That night, I pulled out a fresh piece of paper and wrote, Dear Hope, today I folded napkins and wiped tables and smiled at a customer who called me sweetheart. I didn't cry when I saw a mother feeding her baby at table 6. I didn't think about using. I just lived, and it was enough. But healing isn't a straight line. One night, after a double shift, I saw someone I used to know. His name was Dean. I'd smoked meth in his car once. Maybe twice. He looked at me, squinted, and said, Damn. I thought you were dead. Nope. Still here, I said, tightening my hoodie like armor. He reached into his coat and pulled out a tiny baggie. For old time's sake? I stared at it. God, the sight of it made my skin itch. My mouth watered. My brain sparked with old wiring. I could just disappear again. No, I whispered. I've got somewhere to be. He laughed. You always were soft. I turned and walked away on legs that barely held me up. I made it back to the shelter, locked myself in the bathroom, and cried like my body was trying to sweat out the craving. But I didn't use. That was the night I realized something terrifying. I was never going to stop being an addict. Not fully. Recovery wasn't about erasing that part of me, it was about learning to live with it. Beside it, in spite of it. The next morning, I stood outside the diner watching the sunrise, coffee in hand, wrapped in my thrift store coat. For the first time, I felt something stir that wasn't fear. It was the tiniest whisper of something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. It was a Sunday morning when the past walked in. I was folding silverware at the diner, still wearing my apron, hair tied up in a messy bun. The bell over the front door jingled, and in came 2 people I never thought I'd see again, my parents. My mama had aged. Her hair was grayer, her eyes smaller. My dad still had that same stiff walk, jaw clenched tight like he was trying not to feel anything. They stood there in the doorway like they'd walked into a stranger's house. I froze. My hands trembled and a spoon clattered to the floor. I didn't move to pick it up. Amber, my mama whispered. Her voice cracked like dry leaves. I didn't say a word. Can we talk? She asked. I just stared. All those memories came flooding in the night they threw me out, the slammed doors, the silence when I begged for help. I remembered the cold, concrete hospital floor, the papers I signed, the baby they never came to meet. I swallowed hard. I get off at 3, I said. There's a bench out front. They nodded and sat in a booth. I avoided their table the whole shift, ducking behind the kitchen door like a coward. My stomach churned so hard I couldn't eat. I kept looking at the clock, wondering if I should run out the back instead. But I didn't. At 3 o'clock sharp, I walked outside, lit a cigarette I didn't even want, and sat on that old bench like it was a courtroom pew. They followed. We sat in silence for a full minute. My mama's hands were clenched tight in her lap. My dad was staring at his boots like they held the answers. Finally, she spoke. We saw your name on a list at church. A prayer request. Dolores, I said, the word soft as a sigh. She nodded. She told us you were alive. In recovery. She said you'd been through a lot. My laugh was sharp. Yeah, that's one way to put it. My dad cleared his throat. We didn't know how to reach you. You didn't try, I snapped. You left me. I came to your door pregnant and sick and begging, and you shut it in my face. My mama started crying. Big, silent tears that soaked the front of her sweater. I know, she said. And I'm so sorry, Amber. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I thought tough love would save you. I thought if we pushed you away, you'd get better. But you didn't, and I have lived every day regretting it. I looked at her, really looked. And, for the first time, I saw the guilt in her face. The hollow space behind her eyes. The same haunted look I saw in the mirror for years. What about hope? I asked. Did you ever think about her? My dad looked up. His eyes were red. Every day. I think about the granddaughter I never got to hold. I think about how much I failed you as a father. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw every cruel word back at them. But instead, I just stared at the cigarette burning between my fingers, the ash curling like smoke off old memories. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said. I'm not sure if I even want to. You don't have to, my mama said. Not now. Not ever if you can't. We just wanted you to know. We're proud of you. We're sorry. And we love you. That last part broke me. Because I'd spent so long believing I was unlovable. I flicked the cigarette into the dirt, stood up, and said, I'm still working on loving myself. Then I walked away. That night, I cried harder than I had in months. Tasha held me like a sister while I shook. You did good, she said. You didn't go back. You stood tall. I wiped my nose with the sleeve of my shirt. Why does it still hurt so bad? Because you cared. Because you still care. The next week, I made a decision. One I'd been avoiding for months. I wrote to the adoption agency. I didn't ask for custody. I didn't try to blow up her new life. I just asked, is there any way I can send her letters? Weeks passed. Then, one day, an envelope arrived. Inside. The adoptive family is open to communication. You may write. No promises, but it's a start. I dropped to my knees, clutching that paper to my chest like it was a heartbeat. I spent 3 days writing my first letter. I rewrote it 7 times. Cried over every sentence. Dear Hope, I don't expect you to know who I am. But I know you. You were born in the middle of a snowstorm. You were the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I gave you away because I loved you so much. I didn't want you to grow up with someone broken. But I want you to know I never stopped loving you. Not for a single moment. I hope one day you can understand that. Love. Amber, your birth mother. I mailed it with shaking hands. And then I waited. I didn't know what would come next. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid of the unknown. I had survived. I was healing. And I was ready. It's strange, the way life keeps moving. Even after everything, overdoses, heartbreak, jail, goodbye after goodbye, the world keeps spinning. The sun still rises. And eventually, you stop looking over your shoulder and start looking forward. One morning, I woke up and realized I wasn't just clean. I was living. I had a room of my own in a sober living house. A job that paid enough to buy groceries and shampoo that didn't come from a motel dispenser. A little beat-up car I'd named Gloria that coughed to life every morning like she was just as surprised as I was to still be going. I had routines. Coffee at sunrise. Meetings 3 nights a week. Letters to Hope every Sunday. She hadn't written back, not yet, but I kept sending them anyway. I imagined them tucked away in a drawer, or maybe read aloud by someone kind, planting my voice in the back of her growing mind. In one letter, I wrote, Dear Hope, I learned how to make lasagna from scratch this week. Burned the edges, but it still counts. I don't know if you like pasta, or if you have a favorite color, but I want to know. Someday, if you want to meet me, I'll be here. A little scared, but waiting. Always waiting. One day, I passed a mirror at the diner and stopped. There she was in me. Still thin, but not sick. Hair growing out, not falling out. Skin clearer. Eyes less haunted. And something else. Something new. Something that looked a little like peace. Not perfection. God, no. I still had bad days. Nights I couldn't sleep. Moments where the craving hit like a brick to the ribs, and I had to grip the sink just to breathe. There were times I'd see a girl on the street, skinny, eyes glazed over, and I'd ache from the inside out because that used to be me. But I didn't go back. That part of my life? It wasn't erased. It never would be. It lived in my scars. In the ache in my joints. In the space hope used to fill when I carried her inside me. But I carried her still, just in a different way. One morning, I checked the mailbox outside the sober house and found a letter. I recognized the handwriting. It was neat. Childlike. I dropped everything on the ground and clutched the envelope to my chest. Inside. Hi, Amber. My name is Hope. I'm 7. My mom and dad read me your letters. They said I can write back now. I like the color blue. And pancakes. And animals. I have a bunny named Clover. Thank you for loving me. I sat on the porch, clutching that letter in both hands like it was made of gold. Tears ran down my cheeks and into my smile. Dolores called that night. She still checked on me, even though she didn't need to anymore. She wrote back, I said, voice trembling. Praise God, she whispered. She found you. No, I said, wiping my face. I found me. Later that week, I spoke at my first recovery group as a guest. I stood in a room full of folding chairs and brave souls and told my story, the whole damn ugly, beautiful thing. I told them about the pills, the baby, the streets, the almost dying, the not quite giving up. And then I told them the truth I had learned the hard way. You don't have to be unbroken to be worthy. You just have to be alive. And willing to try. I looked out at all those faces, some new, some familiar, and I knew I wasn't just healing for me anymore. I was healing for them. For Hope. For every girl who'd ever looked in the mirror and said, I'm not worth saving. Because I was. And so were they. These days, I keep a little framed photo by my bed. It's Hope, holding that bunny, wearing a blue dress, smiling like nothing in the world could touch her. I talk to her sometimes. Not out loud. Just in the quiet space inside me that used to be filled with noise and shame. And when I do, I say, I didn't give you away because I didn't love you. I gave you away because I loved you more than I loved myself. But now I'm learning to love me too. Ashes and embers, baby. That's what I rose from. And this time, I'm not falling back. The end.